Every artistic baker is motivated by the desire to create a concept, not having a mind to compete with others. And if you're exceptional at what you do, you can't be ignored. This is Baker's World on the network service of the NTA, your number one baking show on television. I'm glad to have you join us. I am Funke Oyele.
We have an exciting lineup for you today on Baker's World. We'll be sharing with you a lemon sponge cake recipe. Our guest is a Wilton Method instructor who has been in the cake making business for decades. And you certainly won't want to miss our gist of the week on Baker's World. We are set to educate, inform, and inspire you today on the show. Don't go anywhere. Do stay with us. Guest baker is a resourceful, calm, and super creative cake artist. Ibironke Adelokun is an indigene of Okitipupa local government area in Ondo State. She was born on November 30th. Ibironke Adelokun is a graduate of Catering and Hotel Management from the Yaba College of Technology, Lagos in 1999. To carve a niche for herself, Ibironke attended a master course in PME method of cake decorating. She is the creative director of Flourishing Best Confectionery, Abuja. Join us as we chat with this soft-spoken and result-oriented cake maker, Ibironke Adelokun. You're welcome to Baker's World.
Thank you very much.
You chose to go into hotel and catering management as a course to study. How did this come about?
As a child, I loved anything food. And I just, I believe it was God that worked it out because He just pushed me into that path. So everything I do, so long as it's connected to food, I do with ease, no struggles. So that made me know that was just my path. So I really easily fitted in.
From that young girl that loved baking, cooking and making pastries to the professional baker that you are today, tell me more about how that journey started for you.
Apart from graduating from school as a graduate of Hotel and Catering Management, I also attended a confectionery school for cake decorating. But then I always subscribed for some foreign magazines. The name of that magazine was Cake Decorating. It comes from both the US and the UK. So I studied them and I make sure that I practice what I learned from it. So it really helped.
Let's talk about food safety. Because I attended one of your events where you talk about food safety and the importance. Now, for those who didn't attend your event, tell us more about the importance of having good knowledge of food safety as for people who are in the food making business.
Yeah, thank you very much. Food safety is one of the very first things anyone that will handle food must have good knowledge about, because as you see food with a good knowledge of food safety, a lot of sicknesses and diseases can be prevented. It won't even happen. Some of us will just handle food. Some people don't know that there's a particular temperature when your food is safe. If it goes below that temperature, it's danger. If it's above, it's danger. So this proper knowledge, food handling comprises of so many things, from the person handling the food to the environment where you are working, how to take proper care, to the food itself. So if you don't have a knowledge, you do things anyhow. And what do you expect? You put the life of people at risk.
You talked about business school. How important is it for a baker? Like people just said, oh, I just bake cake. Oh, I just make cake. Why do I need to go to a business school? And that's one of the things you always say.
The skill is not enough. You need to be equipped on how to run a business combined with your skill. Because anytime I have this privilege, I always tell people it's one of the mistakes I made as a startup. I didn't have a knowledge of business. I had the skill, but I didn't have a knowledge of business, which sort of slowed me down in the course of running business. Because without a proper business knowledge, you can't run any business successfully.
What would your advice be for that young person out there that wants to become a professional baker and is thinking, where do I start? Where do I begin? What tools do I need? Where do I get money? How do I start? What is your advice for that young person?
When you have the skill for a business as like cake making, which is what we are talking about, when you are equipped, you have your skills, you're able to know your areas of strength, what you do with ease, that is easy for you. So that guides you on what equipment do I need to invest on. And you don't have to set up the whole room in one day. Your skill, that great knowledge you have, will be the one to be buying your equipment for you as you progress, as you work. But you can always start with something little that you have. And like I always tell people, especially as a beginner, when you are buying equipment, don't buy an equipment that can only solve one problem. Before you invest in an equipment, it should be something that can do 3, 4, 5 things for you. One equipment. So that way you can grow and equip yourself in the course of the profession.
Thank you so much. It's really been a pleasure having this conversation with you.
Thank you so much. It's a privilege to be here.
That was our conversation with the CEO of Flourishing Bests, Mrs. Ibironke Adelokun. Now we'll take a quick break here, and when we come back, we'll take the next item on the lineup. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Hello, people. This is NTA Baker's World. Keep watching. Stay tuned for the latest trend in the cake industry and the sugar crop world. Catch ya. Stay tuned and stay glued.
Basically a different shaped cakes ranging from squares, circles, and there's a hexagon. But the hexagon is placed the other way, not the regular up sideways. It's downside up. I think it's a new trend that is currently in vogue, that people are doing, like the flip sides of cakes. So I decided to infuse that into like a regular wedding cake. Top side forward. If you could see this is supposed to be the top of the cake. That's supposed to be flat, but now it's facing forward. So we brought the base to the top. So now it's not now the regular hexagon that it is. It's now a hexagon that is facing forward. I was looking for something outside the box, and I guess this was, in the short period of time I had, this was the best I could come up with.
Are you wondering why I'm holding a sponge foam? Because today's episode is all about a lemon sponge cake. So we will watch and see as our amazing baker, Ibironke Adelokun, is going to show us all the steps and procedure in making a sponge cake. And we will also have a taste to see if it's as soft and as bouncy as this foam I am holding.
Today I'll be taking you on how to make lemon sponge cake. And you can see I have my ingredients ready here. To make the lemon sponge cake, you need the paddle attachment. I'll fix in my first ingredient I'll be using is my flour. Add my sugar, the baking powder, and the salt. I'll allow it to get aerated for about 5 minutes, incorporating air into it. Margarine should be at room temperature. I'm softening my margarine now to ensure that there are no lumps. I'll be dropping my margarine carefully. You don't dump into the dry ingredients. You carefully lower it into your flour. Adding my egg to the mixture. I'll be mixing on low speed for the first 1 minute. Then the rest of I have to do this for another 5 minutes. After the first 1 minute, I'll now increase the speed. Now I'm going to scrape down the side of my bowl to ensure that everything is properly mixed. We are going to leave it for another 2 minutes. So now our batter is ready. I'll be adding the lemon, which is the back of the lemon, the zest, my lemon juice, and coconut flavor. Then I'll roll it for another 1 minute and it will be ready to go into the oven. So after your batter is properly mixed, this is what you're going to have. A very smooth and silky batter. So I'm going to remove my padding attachment and move the batter into the pan now. So when you've had a good mix, this is what your batter should look like. Why I love making this particular recipe is because it's fast and easy to make. You can see in less than 10 minutes we have everything set. Now it will be going into our pan. But another thing I'd like to tell you, you can also make use of your blender jar. Just this way we follow the procedure. But when you are using the blender, you work on low speed. And you can't, depending on the size of your blender, you may not do as much as what the bowl can contain. That means you have to do it twice. So now the batter is going into the pan. You can also sprinkle your lemon rind over your batter before it goes into the oven. And this is what we have. Cake is out of the oven. You can see it's looking so nice. So we are going to leave it for some time to cool down, not less than 2 hours, so that it to properly cool down. No heat is trapped in the cake. Then we will level the cake, fill it, and decorate it with our white buttercream. To make the white buttercream, here are my ingredients: my white vegetable shortening, my water, into which salt has been dissolved and the icing sugar. My white vegetable shortening into the mixer, and I'll add half of my water into the white buttercream. So I'm going to allow it mix for about 3 minutes so that it will be properly softened before I'll add my icing sugar into it. So my white buttercream is in process now. You can see the shortening is softened already. Now I'll be adding my icing sugar into the softened shortening mixture. The icing sugar is sieved already. I'll allow it to mix for another 3 minutes. I'm going to scrape down the side of the bowl to ensure that everything is properly incorporated into the mixture. Okay, we are now going to have the final mix just for 30 seconds. Now our white buttercream is ready. This is our white buttercream. As you can see, it really white. So our cake has properly cooled down. We have leveled the cake, we have filled it. So now we are going to crumb coat, that is sealing up the crumbs. I have my white buttercream here, which I have reconstituted to be spreadable. So I'm going to start by spreading this all around the side of my cake to seal in the crumbs. Just take a little quantity to do the sealing process. So I'm done sealing up. Then I take my smoother to smoothen it to ensure that I have a very smooth base. Now we are going to keep this in the refrigerator for 20 minutes before we do the final covering. While we are waiting for our cake to get set, we'll be getting the decorations, the final decorations for the cake ready. So we'll be piping flowers, still using our white buttercream. I already have some colored. Another important thing I need is my parchment squares to pipe my buttercream flowers. So I put a little dash of icing on my flower nail to secure my flour when I'm piping it. So I'll start by making the center of my rose. So I use the flour tip to pipe. I'm going to start from up. I'll make the center of the flour. I'll keep pushing out from my right hand, and I'll turn the flour nail with my left hand until I cover the center. Then I'm going to have 3 petals. 1. After the 3 petals, I'll have 5 petals. And after the 5, I'll have 7. So I'm going to take this off carefully using my palette knife, and I'll place it here. So I have my different flowers here. I have the rose and I have the blossom. Our cake is out of the refrigerator. It's now time to do the final covering, applying our white buttercream. So I spread it out. Start smoothing the cake. You go as many times as possible. Now I have my complete lemon sponge cake decorated with white buttercream. Now we'll move into the next decoration, which is basket weave piping. I'm going to give an elevation in the center. See, the flour is set. I'll dip my palette knife in corn flour to lift up the flour. Can you see? I'm going to work mixing the colors together. So now we'll be fixing leaves on the flower. You know, from nature, your flower is incomplete without leaves. I present to you our lemon sponge cake decorated with white buttercream with basket design filled with flowers.
This cake looks amazing. Very elegant, very simple, and still very tastefully decorated. But you know, we must see if it tastes as good as it looks. So let's have a taste of it. Because I love the floral part of it. It's just so elegant. A sponge cake The beauty of this cake is all about the texture. You know, we're talking about the spongy feel of a sponge cake. I love this cake. You've done a wonderful job. And you know, this recipe is also very flexible. If you want to try something like this, you don't need a big huge mixer. Just like our baker said, you can always use a blending machine and it will give you the same consistency like this. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. We'll come next week with another interesting and exciting package for you on Baker's World. For your comment, feedback, participation, you can reach us on all our social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. It's Baker's World on NTA. I am Funke Oyele. See you next week.
Thank you.